Shrimad Paramahams Shri Shrimad His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Gaur Premanande. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're reading from Canto 4, the creation of the fourth order. Chapter 3 talks between Lord Shiva and Sati, and we're on the second verse. So we're waiting for the machine to turn on. Maybe we'll chant the Mangala Charan first, and Om Jnana Timirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Drubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhye Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam Karoti Vachalam Bhangum Mungayate Girimya Kripatamaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinataranam Paramanandamadavam Shri Chaitanya Ishram Hari Om Tat Sat. Okay. Before reciting the Bhagavatam, should say these slokas. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devam saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudirayat nastaprayasta bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttamashloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. Before reciting Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, One should offer respectful obeisances to the personality of Godhead, Narayan, unto the supermost human being, Narayan Rishi, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto the author, Srila Vyasadeva. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhāgavatam and serving the pure devotee, all that's troublesome in the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Okay. Yada bhikshito dakshastu brahmana parameshtina prajapatinam sarvesham adipatye samo smayo bhavat yada bhikshito dakshastu brahmana parameshtina prajapatinam sarvesham adipatye smayo bhavat yada bhikshito dakshastu brahmana parameshtina prajapatinam sarvesham adhipatye smayo bhavat. Devotees, da bhikshito dakshastu bhikshito dakshastu brahmana parameshtina. Yada, when abhikshitaha, appointed, daksha, to, but, brahmana, by Brahma, parameshtina, the supreme teacher, prajapatinam, of the Prajapatis, sarvesham, of all, adipatye, as the chief, smayaha, puffed up, abhavat, he became. When Lord Brahma appointed Daksha the chief of all the Prajapatis, the progenitors of population, Daksha became very much puffed up. Oh, that's a nice alliteration with P's there. Repeat. When Lord Brahma appointed Daksha, the chief of all the Prajapatis, the progenitors of population, Daksha became very much puffed up. Purport. Although he was envious and was inimical towards Lord Shiva, Daksha was appointed the chief of all Prajapatis. That was the cause of his excessive pride. When a man becomes too proud of his material possessions, he can perform any disastrous act, and therefore Daksha acted out of false prestige. That is described in this chapter. So I already said the Mangalacharan, but before I say anything else, all devotees, please say a prayer, and that we can all have a nice Bhagavatam class. Yes, yeah, you can raise your right hand and give me some nice blessings. Especially the devotees that are seeing Mataji Harinam and Sitaram and Urugai, Param Brahma back there making books. Hare Krishna. It's nice to give class because it gives me an excuse to study more and write things down, which I'm generally not motivated to do. So thank you for giving me the opportunity. So now we're just broken to the third chapter of the fourth canto. And basically the Bhagavatam is Krishna's body, right? Each canto is representing a different thing. Like it said, the first two cantos are representing his lotus feet. So who knows about Krishna's lotus feet? Okay, but do you know how many symbols he has on his lotus feet? Anyone who knows? Yeah, Nitish. Someone else who knows. Someone search on their phone, just so they. No, it's not. It's not 16. It's not 14. It's not 18. No, it's not. It's symbols. There's symbols on his feet. Okay, I'll give you a hint. I'll just tell you. It's 19. How many toes does he have? 10 toes. Okay, so on the first canto, how many chapters are in the first canto? 19. How many chapters are in the second canto? 10. So those first two cantos represent his feet. So that might be an interesting study for someone to try to correlate each symbol with each chapter. I wanted to do that at some point. Then we have the third and the fourth canto. We just finished the third canto with Devahuti and many other amazing things, discussions between Maitreya and Vidura, which are still continuing into this chapter. Those are considered his thighs. And when the Bhagavatam is being described, it said that there's 10 subjects of the Bhagavatam. And these third and fourth cantos mostly deal with sarga and visarga, creation and secondary creation. Or in this chapter, or in this canto, it's called creation of the fourth order. So it's like Krishna's existing, and then there's like Mahavishnu, and then he creates Lord Brahma, and then Lord Brahma creates everything. Then there's Daksha, who's like the fourth order creator, or doer, or progenitor. His Prajapati, which is cognate, or it means it's like the same word in English is progenitor. It's like basically the same. Praja, pragen, same thing. So that's Visarga, all the minute details of creation. So that's what we're going to hear about a little bit in this fourth chapter. And these third and fourth cantos, the fourth canto to look ahead for. I mean, we've got Shiva and Daksha right now, very amazing. Then that'll lead us into Dhruva's pastimes, which was one of Lord Chaitanya's things. He heard hundreds and hundreds of times from Gadadhar Pandit in their personal Bhagavatam classes. So really amazing to hear. We'll hear about then after Dhruva, King Vena, and then from King Vena comes Prithu Maharaj. Then we get Prachetas and King Chini Barishat, which here's the funny story told by Narad about King Puranjana. So we got a lot of nice nectar coming in the fourth canto. Basically the fourth canto is essentially, they're just saying, okay, here's the genealogical table. Swayambhuva Manu and Shatarupa, they got married by Lord Brahma, helped Swayambhuva Manu get married, and they had 3 daughters and 2 sons. The 3 daughters were Devahuti, who we just finished in the end of the third canto. We heard all about Devahuti and her son Kapila. Then her sister, Akuti, only gets about 6 or 7 verses in the start of the fourth canto. We don't hear much about Akuti so much. Then we have Prastuti. So Prastuti is who we're hearing about now, actually. She's the wife of Daksha. So that's how we're hearing about Daksha, because Prastuti is the son of Swayambhuva Manu, or the daughter of Swayambhuva Manu. And we'll be hearing, Daksha actually gets quite a few chapters, like 2nd chapter, 3rd chapter, 4th chapter, 5th chapter, 6th chapter, I think even the 7th chapter, like so many chapters about Daksha. Only a few other sections in the Bhagavatam have quite as many chapters. I mean, obviously Krishna's pastimes has 90 chapters, but like Narsinghadev and Prahlad Maharaj, they get a few chapters too. I think they're about equal to Daksha Maharaj. So we get a lot to hear about Daksha, which means the lesson we're learning from Daksha is important. So the Bhagavatam, it wasn't just spoken for nothing, it was spoken to teach us and to relish. So the Bhagavatam is an excellent teacher, and it's teaching us different things in different sections. And so one of the main lessons from this whole incident with Daksha is the danger of pride and anger, and how we should actually be humble to avoid these. So that's mostly what we're going to talk about today. When Lord Brahma appointed Daksha the chief of all the Prajapatis, the progenitors of population, Daksha became very much puffed up. Although he was envious and inimical towards Lord Shiva, he was appointed the chief of all Prajapatis. That was the cause of his excessive pride. So pride, we could say pride is one of our biggest enemies. Our Priyojana Acharya Raghunath Das Goswami wrote 11 verses about basically preaching to it's called Mana Shiksha, preaching to the mind. And in the 7th verse, they talk about pride, or in Sanskrit, it's pratishta, or it means the desire for respect, or having like unnecessary respect for oneself, unreal vision of oneself. Basically, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says pride means respect for oneself and the desire for that. And he says that pride is the root of all our other anarthas. So if all of us in this room are starting to chant Hare Krishna, we're in the Bhajana Kriya stage, we're in Anishtita Bhajana Kriya, and we want to reach, through Anartana Vritti, and we want to reach Nishta, fixed Bhajana Kriya. Then we want to go to, then from that fixed Bhajan Kriya, we want to actually have taste from having fixed Bhajan, and then eventually get to Prema. So in our way are all these anarthas. We have so many different anarthas. And Thakur is telling us pride is the root of all anarthas. So therefore, seeing this episode with Daksha, the Bhagavatam is showing us this is the main thing that you have to focus on. There's so many chapters compared to everything else given to Daksha. It's highlighting how much important we should learn. So pride is the opposite of humility, and humility is a synonym of bhakti. So humility means you're situated in reality, whereas pride means, they even call it the false ego. That's, they sometimes say the root of all our problems is avidya. So this avidya is false ego. This avidya is pride. And so Daksha, he got appointed. He became the chief of all Prajapatis. And Prabhupada says in the purport, but he got appointed even though he was actually envious and inimical towards Lord Shiva. He still got appointed, implying that was actually a disqualification for getting appointed to the position, which many of the times we can get appointed to any kind of position, and when we get appointed to that position, we then identify ourselves with that position. I'm in this position, therefore I'm great. Therefore I'm so good. Therefore others should listen to me. Therefore I should be the controller. Therefore, so many expectations then we get. So this is very dangerous. And of course, Krishna is showing us all in this episode how dangerous this can be. Because then Daksha thought, I'm the chief Prajapati. He couldn't remember that actually he's even the creation of fourth order. He's not the third order creator. He's not the second order creator. He's not the first order creator. He's the fourth. He's a creation of the creation of the creation, and then he has to create stuff after that. And he's still being puffed up, and He thought he was due respect from Lord Shiva, and he never got that. And so we can see that, and then therefore he became angry. And Krishna says, where does anger come from? Dhyato Vishyan Pumsa Sangas Teshu Pajayate Sangat Sanjayate Kama Kama Krodo Bijayate. So where does anger come from? When you're meditating on something, then you want to have that. And then when you don't get it, you get angry. So how does that tie in with pride? Pride makes you think you deserve all these different things. And then when you don't get that, then you become angry. And then what happens when you become angry? Kroda bhavati samoha. So you become completely bewildered because you think the reality is a certain way, that I'm this person, I'm like so much better, and then it gets shattered, but you can't take that. So therefore you just hold on to your false reality and you become crazy. Samahat smriti vibhrama, you forget everything good. Smriti brahm shad buddhi nash. Then you lose all your good intelligence and you completely fall down. Buddhi nashat pranashati. So this will happen to Daksha. And interesting enough, if we look, so Daksha is a progenitor, right? And the different scientists, they're like studying the different layers of the geological tables and calculating different areas of living entities, different periods like the Triassic period and the Cruciferous period and whatever, all different kinds of, I don't know, I'm not an expert in geology, but they have a thing called the boring billion, where they look all over the world in a certain layer that's it lasted about 1 billion years, according to their calculation, that there was hardly any significant development in the living entities. But then suddenly they had what was called the Cambrian explosion, where there was so many types of living entities that were diversifying. And my friend, he wrote this book about how all these time periods in the Bhāgavatam line up with significant evidence that different archaeologists and scientists have come to over the years. And actually you can see when Daksha was, I don't know, I don't want to spoil the story, but eventually Daksha gets his head cut off, and it takes him a while to replace his head with the goat. I mean, we heard about the curse in the previous chapter, but now we're going to hear the story in detail. And so if you look at the timings of that, it actually is about 1 billion years, and it perfectly lines up with the boring billion, because Prajapati Daksha was in charge of making the different living entities. Then he gets taken away, and they don't go. So that's something interesting. And what we're learning from him is the dangers of anger and pride. Like Rupa Goswami, he's our, could say he's our Abhideya Acharya. So Raghunath Das Goswami, he's our Priyojana Acharya. It means he's telling us all this information that's important about our goal. And Rupa Goswami is telling us all this information that's important about our method to reach our goal. So he wrote the Nectar of Instruction. He wrote also 11 verses. And in the first verse, he mentions something very interesting. Vachu Vegam Manasa Kroda Vegam. So he's saying we need to control our tongue, control our what we speak. But then he says Manasa Vegam. So the mind has different pushings. And Kroda, or anger, is considered one of those pushings. And Rupa Goswami, what he's doing in Nectar of Instruction is he's trying to distill all the Vedic information down into 11 verses. So he really has to compress everything, and every single syllable, every single word is completely important. But he decides to say Manasa Kroda Vega. So he could have just said Manasa Vega, and Kroda would have been understood by anyone who's reading that like he's talking about you need to control anger. There's other things like lust, greed, anger, bewilderment. There's 6 Manasa Kroda Vegas coming from the Manasa, from the mind. But he repeats, he makes it, says Kroda, and it's said that unnecessary repetition of something is a fault. So Rupa Goswami wasn't at fault for repeating Kroda. He was highlighting it because it's very dangerous. Like Prabhupada says, when a man becomes too proud, he can perform any disastrous act. And They say like the what is it, the ati hati offense or something, the mad elephant, what is it called? Hati mati? Hati mata, the elephant mother. Yeah. So if we make an offense against a devotee, which the most dangerous thing is we get angry and we get angry at a devotee and do something like that, then it's like our bhakti will get destroyed. Just like Daksha, his whole life, his whole service, everything just got destroyed for a long time, for 1 billion freaking years. That's a long time. And so we don't want that. So the Bhagavatam is showing us this so that we don't do it. And so fortunately, Krishna is there. He's merciful to his devotees. He's merciful to everyone. He's always chopping down the pride of everyone. Like even the atheist, he thinks that there's no God, but then mercifully at the time of death, he realizes that that he's not God and that there's something greater than him. If he can't realize that before that, and the devotee always is getting corrected by Krishna in different ways, like in the 88th chapter, I think, of the 10th canto near the end. Krishna is saying, when I actually merciful to a devotee, I take away everything from him. I take away all his money, and he's just helpless and hopeless. And therefore, because if we have a lot of money, then that can also make us think that we're like, I'm the doer. Like I have a lot of money, I can actually do something. I can just pay them to do it. I can get a bunch of servants, and you can easily get very prideful mentality if you have money. But if you don't have any money, I can't do anything without other people's helps. I need to beg people. I'm begging you, please give me something. And you have to lose all your pride for that. And that's humility, like I said, is synonymous with bhakti. Shrimad api sunichena harivasa ishnana kirtaniya sadahari. Humility means that you're convinced that beyond any doubt that there's nothing in this world, not your money, not your family, not your fame, not your guns, not whoever you voted president, not your education, nothing that can save you except the mercy of Krishna. Hari Vilas was asking, not our Hari Vilas, but the Prabhupada disciple Hari Vilas. This is in following Srila Prabhupada. He asked Prabhupada, what is humility? So Prabhupada gave that pretty profound answer. So understanding that actually Krishna's mercy is the only thing that there is. Like Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, there's nothing in this material world besides the holy name. There's nothing else. So that's humility, recognizing that. Who knows Krishna will surrender to him. Like Krishna says, who knows that divine mystic opulence of mind, he will certainly engage in devotional service. So when Indra didn't understand who Krishna was, then Krishna humbled him. Indra thought he was the controller. Or when we just heard also when Lord Brahma, we've been hearing about, when Lord Brahma tried to didn't know who Krishna was, Krishna humbled him and showed him the right thing. Humility means reality. Like Indra and Brahma were in illusion; they weren't situated in reality. Their pride, their false ego, were in illusion. So they didn't understand reality. So Krishna just checked them and showed them actual reality. The gopis say in the Krishna book, in the Gopi Gita, you are the killer of all the fears of the inhabitants of Vrindavan, and you are supremely powerful, and we know that you can kill the unnecessary pride of your devotee. So Krishna can show his devotee the real situation, which can make us humble, which can make us surrender. So like we were saying, Trinadapi Sunichina Toriva Sishna Amanina Manadina Kirtaniya Sadahari. In the 8 verses that Lord Chaitanya gave to us, he dedicated a whole verse just to humility. If you're humble, then you have to be tolerant like a tree. If you're humble, you can actually be tolerant because you don't think you expect very much. If you're think that you expect all kinds of things, like the rock star, Kanai was complaining like how some rock star kirtaniyas get paid to travel around the world, and they go to some kirtan mela, and he was organizing the kirtan mela, and they were just expecting all these extra perks. Like he had provided them sufficient, place to stay, food to eat, and service to do, but they're like, oh, we need more things. We need our this and that, and gym membership, and professional massage, and all this other stuff. Then he's like, you have to get that yourself. I can't provide you. And so maybe if they're a little more humble, they would realize the situation and not expect all kinds of things like that. If you're not expecting anything, then it's easy to tolerate a difficult situation. Like if I was thinking that like, oh, I'm like a really great Bhāgavatam speaker, and I expect this whole place to be packed every time I speak, then like if I start and there's like 2 people in the class, but there's actually quite a few people today. I feel like quite like nice from that, whether I should or not. Then if there's only a few people, then you might feel like, oh my gosh. But Prabhupada, he was saying preach to the walls. Prabhupada was literally preaching to the walls at some point. And Prabhupada is that person that actually he deserves stadiums full of people to hear him because he has such powerful realizations and he's like actually coming down to teach that. And so if you don't expect anything, then anything you get is very nice. So it's easy to be tolerant, like the grass being stepped on. Like you don't care if someone steps on you because you didn't think you deserve, like, all right, you can step on me if I need to get stepped through for something to happen, then okay. And if you're humble, then you actually be able to see the good qualities in others that you can respect them. See, pride blinds us. If you are prideful, you think that you're the best in something, and that becomes your identity. I'm the best, I'm the best Mridanga player. And then when someone comes that shatters that reality, there's 2 things that can happen. Either you can be humble to it and say, okay, I wasn't the best Mridanga player like someone else is, which will always happen in any category. I'm the prettiest, I'm the richest, I'm the this, I'm the that. Whatever we think we are, there's always going to be someone that's better than us in that. And when that comes, we can either humble ourselves or, like Krishna says, we can go into samaha. We can become crazy and just fix, no, what I thought before was right, and like somehow this reality of this person doing it is just like it's a one-off. It's a fake thing. And there we get blinded by our pride. And so, we want to see ourselves as perfect. And so therefore, whatever happens around us that disproves that, we end up gaslighting ourselves into thinking that it's like, no, I have no faults. Whatever faults that may have appeared is just like, we gaslight ourselves, we become crazy. And so, but if you're actually humble, then you can actually respect the good qualities in others, and you can offer them respect. And if they offer you so-called disrespect, you can easily take it. Oh, okay, because I probably deserve that. Whatever they did. Like the classic example, at least in Mridanga playing, is like you miss a T high, like an ending. And endings are meant to like shift the timing. It sounds kind of funny. And then you're like supposed to slam on the downbeat. So it's like everyone slams on the downbeat and then you hit it really late. And you say, oh, you guys were all off. But everyone else hit it together, but just one person hit it off. But then they have the audacity to say that everyone else was off because they thought they were right. Has that ever happened to anyone in Kirtan? Yeah, anyways, if you do Kirtan a lot, you may notice that, some people. Someone told that this one devotee was playing, and they told me in the 24-hour Kirtan, this is like years ago. I won't say his name, but they would do some complicated TI, and then everyone, literally, the singer, all the cartel players, everyone was just sure like they landed here. That was the spot. And then this other person just goes way after that and just slams the beat. And then just has the audacity to tell everyone else, like, oh, you're not on the beat. I mean, I've done that before. I'll play like, no, was everyone else off or was I off? That's just good. It's probably that everyone else is on, you're off. So it's better to be situated in a humble mood. I'm not the doer. I'm not the controller. I live to be corrected. I live to offer service. Then in that mood, then we can actually make progress. Then, Kirtaniya Sadahari. Because we're actually blocked by all our anartas from doing pure service, uninterrupted service. What is the main occupation for humanity at large? And all of us are humanity at large. I mean, humanity at small, I guess, but all of us are humanity. You're a human. So what is your occupation? Savai Pumso Paro Dharmo. What is that? Paro Dharmo? Yeah. What kind of bhakti? What are the adjectives? The 2 of them that start with a Ahvetiki, and Apratiyata. So it needs to be causeless and it needs to be uninterrupted. But we can't have uninterrupted service if we have anartas. Arta means what we want. What do we want? Uninterrupted service. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? And when do we want it? But what's stopping that is our anartas. So recently me and Dylan were studying about all the anartas. There's 16 anartas, according to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, or I guess according to our Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur, who was Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote in Harinam Chintamani. So there's basically 4 categories of anartas. So you have aparads, you have hridai, which means offenses. There's 4 kinds of offenses. Then you have hridai durbalya, which means weakness of heart. And then you have asat trishna, thirst for temporary things that aren't Krishna. And you have tava vibram. You don't understand what reality is. And so we need to eliminate all these anartas. Krishna says in the 7th chapter, Yesham twanta gatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvandva moha nirmukta bhajante mam drida vrata. So we want to bhajante Krishna with a drida vrata. We want to worship Krishna with determination. But we can't do that if we have anartas. And we have anartas because of all our different previous lives and previous activities. But when they, after, like in the Brahma Samhita at the end, it says gradually through theistic conduct, then we attain the goal. So gradually our sinful actions will be completely eradicated. And then at that point, when our sinful actions are completely eradicated, we are able to engage in service with determination. So like Krishna's associates, they have krita punya punja. They've accumulated heaps of pious credit in their past lives to be able to attain the position of Krishna's association. And so when we're humble, we can recognize our position that we don't actually even have fixed service, which is that's going to be what's going to help us get to our goal. And there are so many anartas, so therefore we're fallen. We need to be humble to realize that we're fallen. That, like Indra says, we're Kali Yuga rejects. We're not. You should be born in Dwarpa Yuga, in Treta Yuga. You should be able to fly and just like control things with your mind and sit in meditation for 2 years without breaking a sweat. 200 years, 2,000 years, 20,000 years, 200,000 years. We should be perfected beings, but we're not. We're here, little pygmy dwarf, nonsense embarrassment to consciousness at large, to reality. There's trillions and unlimited billions of living entities in the spiritual world, all completely perfected, and their consciousness is completely beautiful. They're all harmoniously interacting with each other. But we're so fallen and reprobate that we're here and yet we still think we're something. We still get proud and angry. So if we realize that we're fallen, then we'll realize that the importance of doing what was given to us by Mahaprabhu and delivered to us by Srila Prabhupada, this Bhakti Yoga process, and specifically Sankirtan Yogya. Sankirtan means we're proclaiming, I'm not God, God is great. I'm not great, God is great. I'm not worthy of service, God is worthy of service. I want to serve God. So, pride is the worst thing, the root of all anartas. Raghunath Das Goswami says, how can the highest and purest prema ever touch my heart, while the desire for prestige dances there like a shameless, dog-eating, outcast woman? So they compare pride to an outcast woman because it's just eating all kinds of disgusting things. When we're proud and someone says something to us to confirm that false pride, then we love that. Like that's one way actually people distribute books a lot, right, Divyangi? You just play on people's false pride. You say, "Wow, you look so amazing. You're so smart. You're so intelligent. Now forget everything and read this book and like take this." Huh? Yeah, good. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur says you must constantly serve those unparalleled generals of the army of the Lord who are most dear to him. They can quickly expel that outcast woman of pride and allow prema to enter the heart. So therefore we need to serve the devotees, we need to actually be humble, and we need to serve Srila Prabhupada. And like this, we can get rid of pride and become humble, which is the root of all our nartas, and humility is the root. And it's synonymous with bhakti. The more humble we can actually become, the more bhakti we can actually perform and make progress. Like Radharani, her bhakti, her devotion, her love is literally the biggest and most important thing in the entire multiverse. There's nothing above that. But she has no pride. She's completely selfless, completely ready to push another up if she thinks it's going to be better for Krishna's service. Although she's situated in reality, if you read Prema Samputa, she's telling Krishna, who's disguised, that all the other gopis, all their love combined is like a single sesame seed, and my love is like Mount Meru. She's not being puffed up. She's just describing the actual fact. She's saying that because she knows that's what Krishna thinks. If we aren't situated in reality, we think, oh yeah, I'm the best, I'm this, I'm that, but we're not actually the best, then that's pride. But if Krishna, who's actually the best, sometimes he takes that character, Dhiro Lalita, that he actually is puffed up like, yeah, I am the best, I'm going to kill you, stupid demon. He says that to a few people. And for Krishna, that's not really false pride. And for us also pride, we should be proud of our guru. We should be proud that we, of our parampara. We should be proud of the other devotees. That's the best way that pride can be applied. And so at this time, I would like to open it for the devotees to all share their realizations about anger and pride in Daksha in the 4th canto and everything else that we've talked about. If you remembered something good, or if you want to add something, like Divyangi, is there? Okay, well, should I just chuck this thing across the room? I'll just repeat whatever they say.
So the thing about false ego and pride, you said that sometimes we use in book distribution.
The thing about false ego that we sometimes use in book distribution.
That we kind of play on people's pride.
Yeah, we play on their pride.
It's both yes and no.
We do it, and we don't do it.
Because as Prabhu says, on book distribution and Sankirtan, when you're preaching to, you have to make people feel special.
On Sankirtan, where we're preaching to someone, we have to make them feel special, Vaisheshika Prabhu says.
And he says, why?
Why we have to make them feel special?
Because they are.
Because they are. Oh,
so,
nice.
So because they are there, sometimes they already have rejections happen, but of course, it kind of, we get the attention to people are proud of these things. So they're not special because they should.
Yeah. Yeah, we play on their pride, and we may compliment what they're wearing, and that's not necessarily the reason why they should be happy, but that might get them to stop. But then when we actually talk to them and we can actually show that we really appreciate them as another human being, as another soul who is 10 million times brighter than the sun, who is like completely amazing and capable to actually augment Krishna's pastimes, then they actually feel that. I mean, because it's actually offensive to give someone a compliment that's considered like you give them too much of a compliment. Like Jainanda cooks something and it's like maybe good, but then I like start over like, wow, Jainanda, you should open up a 3-star Michelin restaurant and like do all this stuff, and it's like sometimes you can like over heap on the they call it patronizing, or it's offense. No one likes to get like overly complicated. It should just be like reality. Like, all right, this thing was like this, and you did it like this, and that's good. Thank you.
So I have a question. In Bhagavatam, it's quite often that something comes from other thing. So some people, they were someone different in different time, and they were enemies, or they weren't, and then they become enemies for this reason. I don't know if you've done any research on who Daksha and Lord Shiva were? Like, because there seems like so much animosity even before he got married to Sati. I'm just wondering where it could come from.
I don't have any specific comment. I would have to look at the previous acharyas around that. Has any studious Vaishnav heard anything in this vein? And when Daksha, we'll hear Daksha insult Lord Shiva soon. I mean, at the end of this chapter, Shiva's saying, you're the most respectful, but when you're insulted by your relative, this insult will immediately be equal to death. So Lord Shiva knows that that Daksha is kind of puffed up and won't really like, he didn't even like giving Sati to Lord Shiva to get married. But then when he comes to anyways, the Lord Sati will die.
Can rich people be humble?
Anyone that has any kind of wealth or good looks or good education or all these things, they're all disqualifications. So it's actually one of the anartas is piety from past lives, like material pious credits. So it's actually not good if you're extremely beautiful, extremely wealthy, extremely strong and smart. If you're all these things, then you're just going to think it's going to be easier for you to think that you're the controller. I mean, it's possible for them to be, Radharani is the most wealthy and she's the most humble. So that's ultimate proof. She is all wealth, but she's the most humble. So yes, it's possible, but in general, for the materialistic petite soul stuck in the material world, that's just going to mostly increase their false ego. I mean, Prabhupada got tons of wealth, but he all just used it in Krishna's service. Actually, for him, he didn't see it as getting any wealth. He said, "This is Krishna's wealth, and I'm just using it for him." So someone who thinks that they're wealthy, that's the puffed up, because you're not actually wealthy. Or if you think that your only wealth is the holy name and the association of devotees and your service, then you're actually wealthy. But like Prabhupada said, we shouldn't just focus on feeding the homeless people. We should help the rich people understand that they're not rich and they're also homeless. We're all away from our home. We all are completely destitute and poverty stricken. A son that left home, that just waiting to come back. So we all have to call out to the Father. That's what we have to preach to people and teach to people, not just you're poor, so we're in a better situation. You let me feed you. No, we're all in the worst situation. We all need the mercy of someone better than us. And that humility means we can, what is that? 434, surrendering to Guru. Tadvidi Pratipandina. To ask the question of someone and really take their answer deep to heart means you have to see yourself as lower than them, that they know more than you. So, yeah, it's possible, but it's not good. And that concludes our class. Hari Om Tat Sat. Glory to Srila Prabhupada.
Jai.